Man said, I miss the old days. I miss my old ways. I mixed crushing the X pill and the OJ. I remember my cousin died, and I'm like, no way. Somebody said 300 the show. I'm like, what O say? What O say? Hey, get your ass up. Miss my brothers is not okay. Miss my dogs is not okay. What's up, people? We back. Got my man Clemson football in the building. Hey, it's time for Durk. Hey, what I say? It's time for Durk to fight, man. Time to put his work boots on. Strap up. Man, hold on, man. This goddamn Doug, man. Hold up. Hey, yo. What I just tell you, man? What I tell you? What I said? Cut it out. Yeah, y'all, it's time to strap up, man. So they didn't transfer old Durky, yo. Man, what it is? They didn't transfer Durky, yo, to California now. Remember I was talking about how slow the case is moving? This case been a motherfucking turtle race lately. But it should start to pick up. How you find out? I'm ready to show you. It should start to pick up now that he's in California, because now he got to go. Hold on. So now Durk is going to go back in front of a magistrate judge. And more than likely, they're going to deny, I don't even think he probably don't even try to seek bail. Because after they presented the flight logs and shit like that, like, I don't think bail is even in. I don't even think that's even in the question. Federal. Yeah, bail not in the question, y'all. So right now he gonna see a magistrate judge. Basically, they're gonna charge him formally. Basically tell him what he charged with. They're gonna read off the indictment. We're not gonna see none of this, but that's what he's probably going through currently. He's probably going through it right now. He's probably going through it right now. Formally charging him. Read off the indictments. Tell him his rights. You got a right to counsel. How do you plead? And what she's going to say, not guilty. Durk, Devontae, and then we're going to finish that paperwork from yesterday on C thing. We started reading that. Because if I don't know how many people know this show, but they still haven't been sentenced in that Oblock trial. Some people think it's because they cooperating. I think because the federal government made a lot of mistakes. They made a lot of mistakes. What the fuck wrong with this shit? 0 results. Durk, Devontae. Oh shit. Thanks. Why do they always do this, man? I hope these motherfuckers ain't lying. Durk, Devontae, Banks. Hold on, y'all. What's Lord Durk's real name? What's up, Vic? Oh, shit.
According...
What is Lil Durk?
According to Reddit.com, Ultimate Durk is extremely powerful. We know that he is on the same level as Lord English and other authorial figures like...
I don't know that guy. Durk Devontae Banks. That's what I wrote. Durk Devontae Banks. Devontae Banks. They say he ain't in the system. Oh, they might be lying, yo. Somebody might have made this up. Hold up. Well, he probably is being transferred because he's normally in the system. 144K. RIP Lil Scooter. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, share it live. We ready to rock and roll. And I'm going to get into this Oblock paperwork that we started reading yesterday. What? 14-year-old boy guilty. Such a 91-year-old neighbor. Gee, Merry Christmas. We is living in some fucked up times. So this is what I seen. Durk has been transferred from Miami Federal Detention Center to Los Angeles Metropolitan Detention Center. Durk Devontae Banks. But wow, when I look it up, it don't have his location. Durk. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Spelled it wrong, y'all. False alarm. False alarm. Let's see. Yep, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Durk is currently located at Los Angeles MDC. Let's check out that facility. So this is Durk's current residence right now. Yo, it's amazing how much money they put into these buildings. They could have spent the however much millions they spent on this building. They could have put that into homelessness in fucking California. Don't California got a homeless problem? This is a very expensive building. Visiting schedules. Let's check their visiting overview. All visits must be pre-approved. Upon arriving at a new prison, inmates create a visiting list using the following process. Damn, Durky, yo. Commissary list. Let's see what they got on their commissary. So this is the commissary list where Durk is currently at. Forever first class, 21 stamps. They got cards. They got MP3 players, armbands, clips, AM, FM radios, headphones, earbuds. Timex watches for women, Iron Men watches. You can only thing you can wear some Reebok classics, more than likely white, Nike Air Force Precisions. Damn, y'all, that man went from wearing all the designer, so now he gonna have on some Nike Flex trainers. That's for women. Some Nike Flyboy. Shower shoes, $3. You seen a PS5 on there? They got PS5? They might. We'll get to it. He said Reebok sandals. Mackerel, tuna, pink salmon, baby clams, turkey sticks, beef sausage. Yeah, you know, he don't fuck with no pork, so he gonna be all that shit. Snacks, trail mix. Damn, yo, like, yo, this is a far cry, man. I swear, yo, like, this is a This is a long fall from being who Durk is to now on this. Vanilla caramels. I'm not using 2 fingers. I'm going like this. It just look like I'm using this finger is not touching the screen. Come on, use common sense, champ. Butterscotch candy, sugar-free, Hershey bars. Jolly Ranchers, drink mix. Oatmeal cream pies. Honey buns. I mean, they got a good variety, man. I ain't gonna lie, yo. This commissary list ain't bad. Vanilla cappuccinos, hot chocolate. They got the creamers. That you can get medicine in there. Aspirin, naproxen, ibuprofen, Midol. Noodles, 35 cents. You only buy 5 noodles? Come on now. God damn. 5 noodles? What's up, gamer? Yo, what are you going to do with 5 noodles? So you can get 5 each. 15 noodles per commissary. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. Instant rice, brown rice, beef with cabbage, cheese ravioli. Yeah, they ain't bad. They ain't bad on a locked up tip. They got all the condiments, mustard, chili garlic sauce, mayonnaise, peanut butter, barbecue sauce. You know they say in the feds you eat way better than the state. Way better. And it look like, I ain't never see a commissary list look like this. I mean, it's bad for dirt. Shave gel, they give you razors, 85. Pork grinds, popcorn, chips. So y'all, this is the commissary list where Durk is at. Pastries, oatmeal cookies, Oreos. Only 50 cents. What if I don't give you the whole box? This fucked up right here. They only give you the whole box. Swiss rolls. 1 Swiss roll. That's crazy. Oh, that's fucked up. Yeah, but they don't give you the whole box though. Like, who the fuck wants to buy? So here go the electronics. Then now they don't got no PlayStations. Ain't no PlayStations there. They ain't got no tablets either. No tablets. Well, you gotta be in general population. So if he ain't in general population, then he ain't even gonna be. He probably ain't gonna be able to get this shit. They sent him on lockup. I don't know what that commissary list look like. Oh, they got more hygiene, soaps, envelopes, toiletries, deodorant, correction tape, t-shirts. That's the list. But so basically, yo, what's ready to go on? Like I was saying before anybody got in. He ready to see the judge again, and the judge basically gonna run him down the charges. What they're saying what they're accusing you of. I wonder if the rest of the guys got sent over. Let's find out. Let's find out if everybody else got sent over. Let's find that out. Cause them other guys were still in Chicago. Like Durk ain't the only one locked up. Let's find out everybody else, y'all. Hold on. That like button, yo, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And we ready to get into this paperwork next, right here. C-Thing filed a motion for acquittal in August. We was reading this yesterday. And for the people that thought this was a strong case, y'all need to hear this. Now, I don't know if they ultimately denied this motion. But the fact that the defense can even say some of these things is telling to me. For real. The defense shouldn't have a strong case like that for acquittal or a new trial. So let's see something. Get the rest of those guys' names. Matter of fact, I might as well pull it up on the indictment. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up on the indictment, y'all. So we ready to see if everybody got transferred to Cali. Or is Duke just in Cali? Because the other guys were still in Chicago. Let's see. Hit that like button, yo. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Share the live, yo, so we can get people in here. Y'all know how they be playing. Sometimes they let us expand. Sometimes it's just us. But either way, you know, we're gonna make the best out of the situation. So what I'm doing right now, y'all, is I'm trying to see who else got transferred. Looking for their names. I might as well just go to the indictment. It'd be faster if I just go to the indictment. For real, I'm really bullshitting. Go to the indictment. Oblock status conference. I ain't need to look at that. We can check that out too. I didn't even know she sent me that.
I said you can't look on the video. You caught about 4 straight Class A felonies in Georgia, back to back to back to back, in the span of 2 years. Yeah. And you never went to prison. What the fuck happened? I had a great attorney. I went to trial. How you say that shit disappeared when I went to trial on the gun case? I'm just saying. You can't look up the trial on the gun case? That's all. Huh? I said you can't look up the trial on the gun case. My shit got dismissed in trial.
Listen, man, I know the fuck it didn't.
I had a paralegal go through your. This is why the video.
God damn, bro, for real?
Huh? I said I could call my lawyer. I could call Daniel Kane. You should be able to go research any type. I've never had an interrogation. The only one I had an interrogation on was probably when I was 17, and they definitely probably don't got that because I was telling the officer I went to fuck his daughter.
Juvenile records are sealed regardless.
What the fuck? But I'm saying the paralegal, there was no further information about your cases, which in Georgia, everything's out there. You can find anything about it. It's not like LA where they steal everything. So I could get whatever from my lawyers or whatever. I gotta go get. I already know my shit. Got another.
That boy teller. You a teller. Damn, yo, how you lose your shades, bro? Oh, somebody pick them bitches up. All right, so you got Lil Durk. So that's Kayvon London Grant. Let's see where he at. Grant. London. Fuck me spell your name. Alright, Kayvon. I spelled it wrong. Kayvon London Grant. Oh no, he not 32. Fuckers old. How old his ass is? You gotta get all the information right. How old is Kayvon London Grant? They don't got their ages on here, do they? I doubt it. So we might not be able to look up everybody else's name, y'all, because we don't know their age. Kevon London Grant. Let's say 24. I think he might be 20. Oh, let's see, 25. Six. Yo, how long is how old is Vonnie, y'all? 27. Yo, because I'm gonna go to that next, yo. People wondering why Oblock dudes ain't been sentenced yet. Because, yo, the case was garbage, Edward. I've been telling everybody that the whole time. The case was garbage. It wasn't strong like people think. Yo, I said his fucking spelled his name right, didn't I? It wasn't strong like that, bro. Lil Durk arrested.
Grammy Award-winning rapper Lil Durk has been arrested in Florida on federal charges that he paid for the attempted 2022 revenge killing of Quando Rondo at a Los Angeles gas station, a shooting that resulted in the death of Rondo's cousin.
See if they give me their ages. $32. Lil Durk is 32. Why it's not giving me the other names? Kevon London Grant, age.
According to 192.com, we have found 5 people in the UK with the name Kevin Grant. Click here to find personal data about Kevin Grant, including phone numbers, addresses.
I don't want to know who Kevin. All right, so he's 28. All right, so that's fine. Let's go back to the locator. Why their name's not in the system? So there's no information on them. L-N-D-O-N Grant. I'm spelling it wrong. I'm spelling it right. L-N-D-O-N Grant. All right, so let's find somebody else. What's the other dude name? DeAndre Dontrell Wilson. DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, age.
According to NBCnews.com, 3 alleged OTF members, Kevon London Grant, known as Cuz or Vonnie, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, known as Didi.
I spelled his name. Kevon Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson. Two L's, Wilson. You can't find none of the other guys in the system, y'all. I wonder why it's like that. See if he's 32. 33. I know him and Durk should be around the same age. Yeah, that's strange, y'all. Why we can't find nobody else's age? You say he's 33? Yeah, but I typed in 33. Nobody else is coming up. I spelled it right. D-E-A-N-D-R D-E-A-N-D-R-E, Dontrell Wilson. All right, so we can't find him. Let's go move on to the next. Keith Jones. Let's find Keith Jones. Let's just type in DeAndre Wilson. Oh, here we go. We got DeAndre Wilson, y'all. Maybe it was the middle names. Oh, no, this ain't the same person. This ain't the same person. Because he is not in custody. It's not the same person. Nope. That's strange that they're not trying to tell us nobody else. All right, Keith Jones. Let's find Keith Jones. That's easy. That's an easy one. Jones. Keith. Can't find him either. Yeah, that's strange, y'all. I don't understand the reason. What would be the reason? Yeah, so he Dontrell. Yeah, he 33. Kevon Grant is 28. That's fine. Let's go back. Grant. We trying to track everybody else down, y'all. That's all. Kevon Grant, age 28. Yo, it's no search results for that. I don't know about that, y'all. Hope they ain't break the code, man. Them guys ain't break the code. Fuck, you can find Durk, you can't find nobody else. Brian David Lindsay. Let's try to find him. How old he was? David Brian Lindsay, 33. So hold on, I fucked it up. Brian. Age 33. Can't find his ass either. The fuck? David. Oh, it's Brian David Lindsay. Yeah, it's Brian David Lindsay. Hold on. Yo, that's crazy. Y'all see that shit, y'all? We can't, ain't none of these other guys' name popping up in the system. None of them. Nobody else's name is popping up in the system. We looked up every single one of these motherfuckers. Except for the one dude, Flacker. That's fine, who the fuck he is. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Oh, we ain't looked up Boogie. We ain't looked Boogie up. Alright, his name is Brown Eyes. Y'all, I don't know, y'all. Which one says hold? You talking about Dirks? We find Dirks. You can't find nobody else though. Let's look up Asa Houston. Houston. ASA. Nope. 32. 31. Why the fuck they hiding these dudes? 30. I'm gonna go down to 25. I know he ain't no younger than 25. 29. Nope. 28. Nope. 27. Nope. 6. Yo, that's crazy. Yo, what y'all think that mean, man? This the whole system. This the federal inmate lookup. This the whole system. It would say where they at. It should. It should say where they at. It's not saying nothing though. Okay. Dirk popped straight up. He the only one. He the only one. Look. He the only person that ain't pop up. Oh, okay. Well, that's strange. Dirk in LA. We just looking at the commissary list. That's where Dirk at right now. Look like a multi-million-dollar investment, you know. Probably $150 million investment that they could have put somewhere else. Could have put that money into something that was gonna work. Yeah, buy it on the 20th, Clips. Yeah, that's a fucking fancy ass place. You ain't lying. All right, so y'all. So basically, if you just coming in, we can't find nobody else's name. All we can find is Durk's. Everybody else just mysteriously disappeared into the system. Maybe it's for a reason. Maybe they ain't got a DOC number yet. I don't know. They was in Chicago, but I ain't never looked them up before. So
On the 19th of October, we was getting together. My son is hosting a Muslim event down in Navy Pier.
Sounds like the
all the Muslims in Chicago, the Muslim men, women, and children to come and join with us down in Navy Pier for a unity drive in order to get the Muslims here in Chicago.
Yo, the fucked up thing about it, yo, if Big Durk would have been home sooner, he could have stopped this shit, man.
I was walking up the stairs to go through the doors. The feds was coming out the door, and they grabbed me right then and there, took me to another side door, right out the back and behind the building, into a car.
News said they all sent back to Chicago.
To the federal court.
I'm ready to pull that up.
They put me in this interrogation room, and it was a couple of agents in there. It was U.S. attorney.
You said, why we put $1 million on Vaughn head? Where you get that from? I don't think that's true, Ryan.
I have a driver who brought me there and dropped me off at the front of the place. He wouldn't park the car.
Oh, Shonda, that ain't happening.
He said, listen, don't nobody know that we got you right now. No one. He said, we'll put you right back on 26, and your driver don't even know you gone already. We'll put you back on 26 if you give us Larry Hoover. I said, what? He said, you give us Larry Hoover, we'll put you back on 26, and you'll work.
Damn.
I went in my pocket, pulled out the card to my lawyer, slid it on the table, and said, call my lawyer. And from then on, 26 years later, here I am, free man, without telling, without compromising, without being someone I'm not. Rats, stool pigeons, people who tell things to get out. This is the type of life, we don't live this type of life. I'm a Muslim first and foremost, no doubt about it. But even in Islam, we don't believe in telling. We don't believe in rats. We don't believe in stool pigeons. So for someone to try to tell you to tell on somebody else to save your own neck and all this, you get in this thing, you hold your own weight. That's how people have to look at it. I'm in this, and I hold my own weight. You don't bring nobody else into this. You don't tell on nobody else to save your own skin. Get out of it. That's not your lifestyle. That's not what you're about. Get up out of it. But when the thing hits, when it hit, the impact come in, you continue to stand strong. You continue to go down for what you believe in. You don't bring nobody else down with you. I like that little, I think it's Jeezy. I like the little saying he's saying.
Hey, man, I agree. Hopefully Durk do the same thing. I don't think Durk going to implicate nobody else. He got to worry about people implicating him. Yeah, I seen that though. He probably did. Durk actually said something similar on DJ Academics. He said something similar when because DJ Academics tried to set Durk up. I don't know how many people realize that or not, but DJ Academics was in on the play. He was in on the play, and Academics asked Durk about telling, or what would he do in that situation, and he said the same thing his father said. Talk to my lawyer. So he had to got that from somewhere. You feel me? I think his father probably told him that. And more than likely, that's how he gonna carry it. Durk problem is everybody else. He said in one of his songs he ain't worried about no Fed cases because everybody got millions. Well, this is ready to be the test to see if everybody got millions, because if they got money to fight, then them boys gonna fight. But they in for a long fight. Fight of their life. They in for the fight of their life. For real. Cause them feds gonna fight you tooth and nail. Look at what's going on with the Oblock case. Matter of fact, let me go to the news real quick. What's going on with the Oblock case? Lil Durk arrested. Yo, law and crime need to start a black folk business too, man. I'm all sick and tired of law and crime, man. They don't know what the fuck they be talking about. Look at this shit. They need to start a black people business. Law and crime ain't nothing but a blog site perpetrating like a reputable news source. They're a blog site. But when they speaking on things like this, they need to start tapping in with the bloggers, because they don't know what the fuck they be talking about. They be trying to talk about street shit. Listen to this shit, y'all.
Locked up, accused of being the mastermind of a plot to kill his rival. But now federal authorities are tacking on more charges in connection to the fatal 2022
One of them might take the charge. Yo, and that's the thing, yo. Don't rule this out. The boy Big Mike brought up and he a rat, but he brought up a good point. Somebody might take the charge. Durk take good care of them boys, man. Even though one of them is telling, somebody might. See, that's the thing about the person telling. And I don't know how many other people was telling y'all this. Yo, but they're gonna need somebody else. In order to make this a solid case, they're gonna need at least one of the guys that's implicated in this crime. Well, it's one I'm telling. They're gonna need another one of those guys that's implicated in this crime to corroborate this person's story. Because all they got on Durk is don't use no names associated to mine. They're gonna need background information. Actually, before I get to this, now I've been saying that for a while, but people don't believe me, you know, because people tend to want to believe other people. The lawyer guy said the exact same thing. He said the exact same thing whenever he did this video. People think I don't know what I be talking about. Listen to him.
I read the superseding indictment against Lil Durk. Let me tell you a couple things. First, this case is all about Lil Durk for the feds. He's at the start of the indictment, all throughout. They've made it a case about him. Number two, the hard evidence that they have against Durk doesn't seem like it would be enough to convict. You're going to need witnesses to corroborate and explain what this evidence means. The hard evidence, let me go over it. There seems to be three key pieces of evidence here. One is that after the death of King Von, Durk let it be known in coded language that there was a bounty out on Quando Rondo. Now, that bounty coded language happens almost 2 years before the murder for hire. So long passage of time. The other thing, the feds don't say what the coded language was and how it was communicated to people. If it was very damning evidence, I think they would have just put the language right in there and they would have said how he told people. They did not.
I said the same thing, y'all. For people that follow my channel, remember I said that?
The other piece of evidence is a text message that they say they have where he's texting a co-conspirator saying, hey, don't use no flights or book no flights using any cards involved with me. I think unless the co-conspirator comes in to give you some context behind what that text message means, just that text message alone doesn't prove that this all has to do. If anything, that text message is like, I want nothing to do with that. And finally, there's some music lyrics. You can listen to that song. That song is all over the place. Unless somebody is putting the context together, there's not enough. I read the superseding.
They're gonna need somebody else to corroborate that story. It's gonna be hard as hell to convict Durk just with the information that they gave us. Now they probably got some more, but listen to Law and Crime Network, man. Like they need to fall back for real. And YouTube puts them at the top of the algorithm. You type in Lil Durk arrested, this is the first video you get, and they not giving good information. So obviously they got some type of contract with YouTube. Whenever you type in any cases, law and crime, it's like it's a blog site. Law and crime ain't no different than Keep It G News. And I think I think I get better information, to be honest.
A Grammy Award-winning rapper remains locked up, accused of being the mastermind of a plot to kill his rival. But now federal authorities are tacking on more charges in connection to the fatal 2022 ambush. Dirk Banks, better known by his stage name Lil Durk, was arrested in October near Miami International Airport, allegedly on his way out of the country. He's accused of plotting to murder rapper Taekwon Bowman, better known as Quando Rondo. Federal prosecutors alleged in the previous indictment Lil Durk put a bounty on Quando Rondo's head after one of Rondo's associates shot and killed Durk's longtime friend and collaborator King Von in 2020. Now in a superseding federal grand jury indictment, the new charges he faces could keep Lil Durk behind bars for the rest of his life. Initially, the Chicago rapper was charged with one count of conspiracy to commit murder for hire. In the new indictment returned Thursday, it adds Lil Durk as the lead defendant to the October indictment that previously charged 5 other men with the 2022 fatal ambush. So now Durk is charged with conspiracy, one count of use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, one count of using, carrying, and charging firearms and a machine gun, and possession of furtherance of a crime of violence resulting in death. These are the same charges Kevon London Grant, aka Vonnie, Asa Houston, aka Boogie, David Brian Lindsay, aka Brown Eyes, Keith Jones, aka Flocka, and DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, aka Didi, already face. According to federal prosecutors, those 5 men all have ties to Lil Durk's Only the Family, or OTF, that was formed in 2010. They claim OTF wasn't just about the music, but the organization also acted as an association.
The reason why I call them bloggers is because they be transferring the same information. Like I watched them say something about OTF Jam wearing a wire, and that never was confirmed. So that's some shit they just got from the internet. Like that's what Law and Crime. Law and Crime is a blog site, perpetrating as a news as like a Fox or CNN. It's a fucking blog site, man.
Individuals who engage in violence, including murder and assault at Lil Durk's direction to maintain their status within OTF. And authorities claim Durk directed them to carry out the sinister crime. According to court documents, Lil Durk feuded with the victim, only known as
haunted by a concept you've been dying to make.
So after this, y'all, we're gonna go into the Oblock paperwork.
In the indictment. However, the initials are the same as Quando Rondo's full name, Taekwon Bowman. Their feud stemmed from the November 2020 murder of Lil Durk's friend King Von, in which an associate of TB shot and killed him outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta. According to the indictment, Lil Durk seemingly put a bounty on TB's life. That all came to a head 2 years later on August 19th of 2022 when several OTF members and associates allegedly used 2 vehicles to track, stalk, and attempt to murder Quando Rondo for hours. And eventually they caught up to Rondo, his cousin, and his sister at a gas station near the Beverly Center shopping mall. Lots of disturbing allegations.
Doji. You know, I was the one, that whole Brick Baby narrative started here. Now, Wack 100 adopted it, and, you know, y'all know, for the people that follow me, y'all know how this go. I put some information out there. They run with it. Nobody mentions Keep It G News. But that ain't my theory no more. My new theory is, for people that's new to the channel, my new theory is, it's still involving Brick Baby. But I don't think Quando Rondo trusted Brick Baby for Brick Baby to know where he at. So what I think happened now is, when Brick Baby said what he said on No Jumper, that got his house raided. He got his house raided. So they was already, the feds or LAPD was already invested, because LAPD is the one that got this information, not the feds. And then the feds took over the case. So when LAPD heard him say that, was let you know they watch social media. So when you got these YouTube detectives like trying to crack cases, they watch social media. So what are you doing? What are you doing? If you know they watching, why are you trying to crack a case? And then say, well, I ain't doing it. I ain't work with the police. But anyway, so what happened was they raided Brick Baby house looking for electronic equipment. Found this phone. Found the gun. Now they got leverage on Brick Baby. So what do you know about this supposed to be hit on Lil Pad? Brick Baby tells them where he got that information from. They go to, because this is how investigations work. They go from here, here, here. It's like you're going from A to Z. You understand what I'm saying? So once Brick Baby said what he said, that gave, they took the information they got from Brick Baby and took it to and went to the source. Now this is the person that told. So Brick Baby may be one of the co-conspirators, But the person that told about the location, Brick Baby told on them, and they told on Durk and them. That's what I think happened. And I think Big U might play a role, because if you watch that interview that Quando Rondo did with No Jumper, Quando Rondo has zero respect for Big U. He used to have all the respect in the world for him. But after the death of Paul, the respect changed. But he credits Big U because through this situation, I think he learned that, yo, everybody rolling 60s ain't. Just because I'm rolling 60s in Savannah, that don't mean the rolling 60s in California owe me no loyalty. Even though they do, especially somebody like Big U who they look up to. But Quando Rondo realized that, yo, this gang shit ain't what we thought. They backdoor each other. It's not a brotherhood. It's not a family. See, gangs prey on two different kinds of people. They prey on people that don't got family. So when they locked up and they don't have family home that's sending them money, they prey on them. They feed them this idea or this ideology like, yo, we're a family. We look out for each other. Here, you need something to eat. I got you. And you know, if you're a person coming from a family that's not family oriented, yo, you'll fall for that. You feel me? You'll fall for that. And then they prey on, so what was it? They prey on people that's not family oriented. Hold up. Everybody gang. Yeah. Loose Cannon, a wild motherfucker. That's what I think he is. Yeah, but that's how the gangs operate, man.
Indictment against Lil Durk. But I want to take this moment to thank Upside for sponsoring us. You might be asking yourself, what's Upside? Well, it's a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like barcode on your screen, used from Lil Durk and OTF to
I'm from Baltimore.
Bank and flight records showed an OTF 25 carried out the shooting, which was captured on surveillance video. According to the indictment, 18 shots were fired during the shooting, but instead of killing Rondo, they killed Rondo's cousin, who was ID'd in court documents as SR. Authorities tracked down the men involved after the hitmen used money from Lil Durk and OTF to carry out the hit. According to federal prosecutors, bank and flight records showed an OTF member and close associate of Lil Durk coordinated and paid for the 5 co-conspirators.
8-7. What the fuck is you talking about? What did I say about Pop? Tell me what I just said about Pop. I'm telling you who the gangs prey on. This is universal. This ain't got shit to do with Savannah, Georgia. This is the gang tactics they use in every jail system. They prey on people that need other people. You know, they don't have a family. They don't have family looking out for them on the outside. So they create this. They teach them this. They preach it's a lie. You know, they sell them a dream of, yo, we your family. We take care of each other. But what Quando Rondo learned through this situation is that is a lie. They don't take care of each other. They backdoor each other. They do a lot of fucked up shit. Most gangbangers I know got killed by gangbangers of their own gang. You understand what I'm saying? Now, in the prison, it's different. But once they get on the streets, yo, all them rules is out the door. All this, we brothers and we look out, that shit is out the door. And I think Quando Rondo didn't know that at first. He learned that through this situation. And that's why he credits Big U with teaching them that.
To travel from Chicago to California on the day of the murder. Court documents say around the time the one-way flights were purchased, Lil Durk told an OTF associate, don't book no flights under no names involved with me. That same day the hitman traveled from Chicago to California, Lil Durk also traveled to California, but in a private jet with Kavon Grant. When they touched down in Cali, Grant allegedly purchased ski masks for the shooters and paid using a credit card in Lil Durk's name for the other co-conspirators' hotel rooms. Grant was named as a top OTF associate in the indictment and allegedly also used the money to rent the luxury sedan used in the shooting and gave Jones, Lindsay, and the third unnamed suspect.
Hello, let me show y'all this. Yo, this is misleading. The feds played a real dirty trick with this picture, y'all. Because the Infiniti is right here. The BMW is right here. This car is nowhere in sight. But Look how they made it seem like this car was behind this Cadillac, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't close. It's edited. Right. This is a dirty game they did right here, man. Dirty game by the feds. They made it seem like they was really tailing them. But in trial, being as though they was this far away, and this might be the only picture they got, this is going to go real well for them at trial. Like, you don't have us tailing him. You feel me? We might be in the same area, but to say we was tailing him, that's a stretch.
It's converted into a fully automatic machine gun. After Grant, Jones, Lindsay, Wilson, and Houston were arrested in late October, Lil Durk tried to leave the U.S. According to the FBI, Durk booked at least 3 international flights. U.S. Custom and Border Protection alerted the feds he booked 2 one-way flights to Dubai and Switzerland. However, he didn't board either flight. Instead, officials say the Chicago rapper also booked a private plane to leave Miami and arrive in Italy. Durk was booked into custody on October 24th, an hour before the plane's departure.
Was used.
And he was taken to the
they was used, yo, but they made it seem like they was close. They made it seem like they was close. They didn't have to put this picture like this. This is intentional. They didn't have to put this right here to make it look like they right behind each other. No, that's dirty, man. That's misleading. And it was intentional. It was misleading.
And he was taken to the Broward County Jail before his transport to Los Angeles.
I'm not defending that. I'm telling y'all the
other
truth.
5 men named in the indictment are still in federal custody in Illinois, pending their transfer to LA for arraignment. The Grammy Award-winning rapper and his co-defendants are facing a lengthy sentence if convicted on all counts, a max sentence of life in prison.
Yeah,
There's a lot to unpack with this new superseding indictment against Lil Durk, so I have a great guest that I want to bring on, and that's retired Detective Commander Will Spieler. Will, always great to have you on.
It's not about what we know, y'all.
What's your reaction hearing Lil Durk's
It's not about what we know, y'all. It's about what you can prove. It's about what you can prove. Fuck what we know. I don't give a fuck what I know. They got to prove that shit.
This murder for hire plot that did result in the murder of the intended
Yeah, exactly. You know what it is.
Well, it's really not a big surprise. He grew up in Inglewood.
No, they didn't.
I'm very, very familiar with Inglewood. We've had problems with...
See, yo, I don't know how criminal proceedings work. Yo, it's about poking holes in the case. Yeah, those cars are somewhere in that vicinity. But an argument can be made that we didn't tail them. Unless they got video of those cars leaving and jumping back in. It's just about, they ain't going to show us everything. I'm just pointing out the dirty trick that they did, yo. Because when I first looked at that picture, I actually thought that the BMW was behind the Cadillac. But as I did more videos and studied the pitch even more, I realized, they fucking photoshopped this bitch. That BMW went behind that Cadillac. And I don't know how many other people knew that. So I'm just trying to give real information. It's not my thoughts. If they did it intentional. One of my thoughts. That's how they dirty, man. Yo, this is not an upstanding system. The feds are dirty. They dirty. That's why they win cases. Wait till I get to this Oblock case. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let this run, and then we're gonna go to Oblock.
Guerrilla rappers with feuds in the neighborhoods that are really...
Check this out. I'm gonna show you how I afforded this car.
That is what I thought.
Okay,
a lot of people probably thought that though. I'm sure I ain't the only one that thought that.
Going back to the Chief days, and even before that. So it's not a really big surprise.
They dirty.
That he would have been involved in this activity.
And being that you've worked in Chicago, talk to me a little bit about the drill rapper scene over there and OTF. Have they ever been on your radar before?
Oh, absolutely. OTF specifically, not as an organization, but
all right, real quick.
With the OTF,
you want to play semantics?
It's not just
they didn't have to do that.
OTF. It's the fact
they had a choice to do that or not. That was a choice.
Cycle street gangs. We've got all kind of gang problems out here in Chicago, and a lot of these rappers come from
they could have showed the 2 cars.
And we have shootings all the time where they're filming videos.
I ain't nobody mixing
on
no
the
thoughts.
Street, doing their diss raps or whatever you call them, and then there's shootings at those videos, at those video shoots. So we've been after them for quite a while.
Dude, they don't do a good job, man.
Them so much as an organization, but individuals committing.
Let me show you. Let's go to the Oblock trial. I'm gonna show y'all what I mean by they dirty. So yesterday we was reading this paperwork. This is See Things indictment. Oblock. Now, these guys was found guilty. So yesterday, I ain't going through all that. Y'all gonna have to read that. Go to my last video. We read all of this yesterday. And basically what this describes is the fact that the feds didn't have a case. They used fucked up witnesses. They didn't know these guys to identify them. This is what I mean by dirty. Trenches News ain't seen these guys, ain't been around these guys in 10 years. How has he been brought to court to identify somebody? Let me read. I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna read this paragraph. No one who was present on Oak Street at the time of the shooting testified that Charles Liggins was present at that location, much less involved in the shooting. Video footage of Oak Street shooting was introduced. However, no witness identified Charles Liggins in that video footage. No forensic or physical evidence put Charles Liggins on Oak Street at the time of the shooting. In fact, the government's forensic cell site analyst established that during the time of the murder, Charles Liggins' phone was not on Oak Street, but was in fact at Parkway Gardens. There is no evidence that Charles Liggins made any statements admitting to involvement in the shooting. No witnesses testified to overhearing any conversation between Charles Liggins and any of the alleged co-conspirators discussing the murder. Although the government claimed that defendants at Parkway Garden were notified that Carlton Weekly was on Oak Street by a phone made by defendant Ralph Turpin, there was no proof of any such phone call to any of the defendants, much less to Charles Liggins. Thus, even the initial incident that allegedly precipitated the shooting was not proved. This is what I mean by they dirty. He wasn't a driver. How do you take somebody to court with this? How do you get a conviction with this? This is they didn't have anything. Not on C-Thing. Not on Muwap. They had shit on Ralph Turpin. They had shit on Kenny Mack. They had shit on Carlos Alford. So I'm not reading all of that. Y'all go to my live from last night. I read all of this. And I'm ready to pick up where we left off at. All right. This is where we left off at right here. The evidence was insufficient to establish that Oblock was a RICO enterprise engaged in racketeering activity at the time of the Oak Street shooting in August of 2020. All of Charles Liggins' counts of conviction required the government to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that at the time of the Oak Street shooting, Oblock was a RICO enterprise engaged in racketeering activity. The government evidence failed to do so. Therefore, even if this court concludes that the evidence was sufficient to establish that Charles Liggins participated in the murder of Carlton Weekly and the shooting of Cache Williams, a judgment of acquittal is still required for failure to sufficiently establish these two elements. The superseding indictment charged that the Oblock Street Gang was an association, in fact, enterprise. Count 1, Part 2. The Supreme Court in Bull versus United States held that a racketeering enterprise can be a group of individuals associated, in fact, provided that they are associated together for a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. The court further stated that in order to be an association, in fact, the enterprise must have structure, stating, we agree with petitioner that an association, in fact, enterprise must have a structure. In a sense, like the mob. You know, the mob had structures. It had underbosses and things like that. In a sense, relevant here. The term structure means the way in which parts are arranged or put together to form a whole, and the interrelation or arrangement of parts in complex entity. The court held that the enterprise must have at least three structural features: a purpose, relationships, among those associated with the enterprise, and longevity to permit these associates to pursue the enterprise's purpose. Bull versus United States. It also must be established that the enterprise is an entity separate and apart from the pattern of activity in which it engages. United States versus Turkey. The evidence presented at trial failed to establish that Oblock constituted an association, in fact, enterprise. To the contrary, the evidence did not establish that the members of Oblock associated together for a common criminal purpose or that the required structure existed. In an attempt to establish that Oblock was a criminal enterprise engaged in racketeering activity, the government called David Sloan, Martell Wiley, which is Trench's News, and Raheem Wilton, which is Butter. Put simply, the combined testimony of these three witnesses was so lacking that no rational jury could have concluded that the government proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Oblock was an enterprise engaged in racketeering activity at the time of the Oak Street shooting. See, y'all been watching the wrong blogs. I've been telling y'all from the door that this case is not strong. David Sloan was the government's first witness on the issue of enterprise. However, as previously described, Sloan was not at Parkway Gardens at the time of the murder. Since approximately 2015, he had been living primarily in North Dakota. Moreover, so they brought a witness that used to work in Oblock, but since 2015 was living in North Dakota to identify these guys. He was in jail from May 2020 to March 2021. Thus, Sloan did not have personal knowledge as to any alleged Oblock enterprise at the time of the Oak Street shooting. Like, how do you do that? This is what I mean by they dirty. How do you bring a guy that ain't been in the hood since 2015 to testify that, yo, this is the gang? This is the gang. He ain't been in the hood in what, 7 years? Moreover, yo, no state court would allow this. This is what I be meaning by the feds are dirty. No state court in America would allow him to be a witness, or Martell Wiley, which is Trench's News, or Butter. Moreover, Sloan's testimony concerning the issue of enterprise structure was repeatedly impeached by his statements in a tape-recorded interview with the FBI. In that interview, Sloan told the agents he wasn't inducted or brought into Oblock, but became an Oblock member simply by living and growing up in the neighborhood. That is not an enterprise. That is not a gang. He just lived and grew up in the neighborhood. He wasn't inducted. Contrary to his direct testimony concerning guns at Parkway Gardens, Sloan told the agent that anything he ever got, he got on his own. He explained that no one was doing anything or giving anything to him. We were getting shit on our own, Sloan told the agents. He never provided a gun to anyone, in that when he got a gun, he got it from my people, family. On the issue of drug distribution and alleged racketeering activity, Sloan told the agents that he was selling weed. When asked where he got the weed, Sloan said he could get weed from just about anywhere. There were hundreds of places to get it from, and that getting weed was like going to the store and getting a bag of chips. Sloan was asked at that interview what would happen to Oblock members if they didn't shoot a rival gang member. He answered, I mean, shit, nothing really. It's not even really like when you see it. He then explained that there were a lot of people in and out of his block that are not on nothing. When asked during the interview whether there were leaders of Oblock giving orders, he told them, everybody do. Like I say, yes, be in your own group. So if we want to go out and want to do this, we don't need permission from them. We do what we want to do. Everybody do what they want to do. Don't nobody get no orders. Don't blank. It ain't none like that. No, none of that structure. No, it's none of that. None of that. Everybody do what they want to do. Do this sound like a gang with hierarchies and structure? David Sloan's testimony had to be considered with caution and great care given that he received immunity. Oh, another Woody. was paid over $20,000 for his cooperation and was hoping the FBI would assist him in obtaining a lesser sentence on a pending state court firearms charge. So he had incentive to lie. However, even if David Sloan's testimony is accepted, he did not have the personal knowledge required to establish that Oblock was a criminal enterprise engaged in racketeering activity in August of 2020, as required by each of the counts of conviction. So he had been in Oblock in 5 years. Trench's News was also called by the government in an attempt to establish the required Oblock RICO enterprise. As with Sloan, while he did not have a basis for personal knowledge of the alleged enterprise in August of 2020, Wiley admitted that he moved from Parkway Gardens in approximately 2010. He did not provide any foundation for personal knowledge that Oblock constituted a RICO enterprise contemporaneous with the Oak Street shooting nearly 10 years later. Wiley had no personal knowledge sufficient to support testimony establishing an enterprise after he left Parkway Gardens. But as to what enterprise structure may have existed even before he left, Wiley provided the following testimony. Question: how about in 2008? Was that people going to the back for a meeting, none of which he even attended, still happening? No, it got looser. It got loose like every man for themselves. Like it started getting loose. Question: what about in 2010 when you were about to leave? Oh, it was way loose. It was like loose cannon. Everybody who had a gun thought they was the man, anybody. Question: were people giving orders back in 2010? No, not in 2010. Nah, it wasn't no orders or none of that. It was like loose. It was like every man for themselves, your crowd, whoever you hang with, that's who you ran with. Like, it's like that. Wiley's testimony did not establish the necessary enterprise structure. It corroborated Sloan's statements that there was no structure. No one gave orders. No one gave you permission to do what you wanted to do. You just did it. There was no hierarchy. You get what you needed from your people and family, not from an enterprise gang. It was every man for himself. That is simply not the structure required for a RICO enterprise as set forth in Bull. Wiley was also a witness whose testimony had to be considered with caution and great care because of the benefits he received. He worked for years as a paid informant, although on the stand he denied receiving the funds the FBI paid to him. His testimony was riddled with lies, including his explanation for the criminal conviction and his description of his YouTube videos. Wiley told multiple lies on the stand about his interaction with the FBI, the falsity of which was established by stipulation. They were not lies, Wiley told a friend on the street. These were not lies, Wiley told a friend on the street. These were lies Wiley insisted upon in court as a government witness under oath before the jury. Wiley's testimony about Oblock criminal activity was further impeached by the fact that at the time he claimed Oblock members was involved in criminal activity at Parkway Gardens. He was actively working as a paid informant. However, again by stipulation, Wiley never reported any such Oblock gang or criminal activity to the FBI. However, even if Wiley's testimony is accepted, it's insufficient. He did not have a basis for personal knowledge of Oblock in August of 2020, and his description of how Oblock allegedly operated in 2008 and 2010 established that there was no structure and people just operated on their own. Thus, Wiley's testimony failed to establish that Oblock was association in fact with a common criminal purpose and structure in August of 2020, such as to satisfy the elements required for each of the counts of conviction. The government was required not only to present sufficient proof that Oblock met all requirements of a RICO enterprise in August of 2020, but also that the charged enterprise was engaged in racketeering activity. The racketeering activity charged in the superseding indictment was murder in violation of Illinois law and narcotic trafficking in violation of federal law. In order to prove the racketeering activity of murder, the government called Rakeem Wilton, FBG Butter, we all know. Like Sloan and Wiley, Wilton treated the court proceeding with total lack of respect and was impeached on the main topics on which he was called to testify: the murders of Jakara Barnes and Dale Fisher. As set forth below, in the motion for new trial section of this motion, Wilton's testimony as to both of these murders should be excluded. It was the government theory that Jakar Barnes was killed by alleged Oblock member King Von in retaliation for Barnes, a rival gang member of Oblock, having murdered O.D. Perry, a supposed associate of Oblock. Barnes was Wilton's half-sister. Wilton claimed to be the witness to that murder. Prior to the trial in 2020 or 2021, Wilton made a YouTube video concerning the killer of Jakar Barnes. In that video, Wilton explained to his audience that he witnessed the Jakar Barnes murder, and that King Von had not committed the murder. What I know is, on my daddy, Von didn't kill Kyra, period. I ain't say that because Von didn't kill Kyra. On Took, I got shot too. I was there, I got shot too. I saw the MF who popped me, who popped up. He's dead. And it was some grown niggas. You named the person? Oh, Fuzz Gary. King Von didn't have shit to do with that shit. Fuck that shit. That was a faucet. On direct examination, Wilton first told the jury he did not witness the murder. He was then confronted by the AUSA with the grand jury testimony in which he had stated the opposite. Okay, so he got on the stand and told the jury he did not witness the murder, and more than likely he didn't. Yo, when gunshots get to flying, you running. He was then confronted by the AUSA, Assistant U.S. State's Attorney, that's what AUSA means, with his grand jury testimony in which he had stated the opposite. He eventually was asked whether his testimony in the grand jury, as opposed to his testimony before the jury, was the truth, to which he replied, yeah. On cross-examination, Wilton's further inconsistencies as to the Barnes murder were revealed. He could not recall a conversation with agents in March of 2018, but had no trouble denying that he told them that at the time of the shooting, Barnes was carrying 2 pistols, one Beretta with a 30-round magazine, and one Smith & Wesson 40 caliber handgun with a 30-round magazine. He also denied telling the agents that another person, so he was telling in 2018. And then he come to YouTube. I be telling y'all, man, a lot of these YouTubers, they leave the feds and they come straight to YouTube. And I be trying to call them out. Y'all think I be tripping. These motherfuckers is agents. He also denied telling the agent that another person who was with him and Barnes at the time of the shooting, Crenshaw, had a 45 caliber pistol with a green laser. Most importantly, he did not remember telling the agents that the reason he was able to identify King Von as the person who shot Barnes was that the shooter and had a birthmark. In fact, King Von had neither characteristics. All Wilton's lapse in memory and denials as having previously told the agents about the shooter's description were cleared up through stipulated evidence that he indeed made those statements. As to the murder of Dale Fisher, Wilton told 2 entirely different versions of who was involved in the murder. Like, yo, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. This case was bullshit. It was bogus. They what they say in Chicago? Bogus. He did not recall telling agents the first time he was interviewed concerning that murder that he had seen D. Rose and King Von get out of the tan Buick with guns during the shooting. He also could not recall a second interview on October 23rd, 2020, in which he told agents that he was 10 to 15 feet away from King Von and D. Rose when they shot Dale Fisher. What Wilton said in both interviews was stipulated to by the government. Finally, in March 2023, Wilton testified before the grand jury with a new version of who shot Dale Fisher. This time, he came up with 2 entirely different people. He testified that he saw T. Roy and James Johnson exit the car and observed T. Roy standing over Fisher, shooting him. Even if Rakeem Wilton's testimony regarding the Barnes and Fisher murders is accepted as true, the testimony was insufficient to satisfy the required elements that the charged Oblock enterprise was engaged in racketeering activity at the time of the Oak Street shooting. The Jakar Barnes murder occurred in 2014 and Dale Fisher murder occurred in 2011, many years before August of 2020. Wilton's testimony simply did not establish that Oblock Enterprise was engaged in racketeering activity anywhere near the time of Carlton Weekly shooting. In addition, Rakeem Wilton did not implicate Charles Liggins or any of his co-defendants as participants in either of these murders. Thus, there was no connection between Barnes and Fisher murders and the alleged enterprise that the government maintains was responsible for the Carlton Weekly shooting. The fact that violent acts occur in geographic neighborhoods is simply not proof that people who may live in that neighborhood are responsible for that violence. The charged racketeering activity in the superseding indictment also included narcotics trafficking in violation of federal law. Here again, the government relied upon the testimony of David Sloan, which has been addressed earlier, in which argument is incorporated here. Most saliently, even if David Sloan's testimony is to believe, it was insufficient to establish narcotics trafficking in violation of federal law, and it related to a time period ending in 2010. How is he going to testify in 2020? In 2020, he's going to testify that these guys were selling drugs, and he haven't been there in 2020, and he haven't been there. He left in 2010. Like, seriously. What is he talking about, man? Oh, that's Jay. You know Jay a troll, man. Makes perfect sense. I'm stopping at the periods. Y'all can't. I don't understand. Y'all can't get it. Most saliently, even if David Sloan's testimony is believed, it was insufficient to establish narcotics trafficking in violation of federal law, and it was related to a time period ending in 2010. To prove the alleged enterprise was involved in drug trafficking in August 2020. The government also argued that recorded jail calls of defendant Robeson established that the enterprise was engaged in narcotics trafficking. Again, these jail calls, while they may have suggested Robeson individual dealing and selling narcotics, did not establish that this drug dealing was done as part of the alleged Oblock enterprise. Moreover, the Robeson phone conversations occurred in late February 2021, more than 6 months after the August 2020 shooting. Thus, this evidence did not and cannot establish that Oblock, the alleged Oblock enterprise, was engaged in racketeering activity in August of 2020. Thus, the government evidence was insufficient to prove that Oblock was a RICO enterprise engaged in racketeering activity at the time of Carlton Weekly shooting, and a judgment of acquittal must be entered as to all convictions against Charles Liggins. The evidence was insufficient to establish that Charles Liggins participated in the murder of Carlton Weekly and the assault of Cache Williams for the purpose of maintaining or increasing his position in the Oblock enterprise. All of Charles Liggins' counts of conviction required the government to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that Charles Liggins participated in the murder of Carlton Weekly and the assault of Cache Williams for the purpose of maintaining or increasing his position in the alleged Oblock enterprise. The government evidence failed to do so. Therefore, even if the court concludes that the evidence was sufficient to establish that Charles Liggins participated in the murder of Carlton Weekly and the shooting of Cache Williams, a judgment of acquittal is still required for the failure to sufficiently establish this element. First, for the reasons argued above, the testimony of Sloan, Wiley, and Wilton was not sufficient to establish that Charles Liggins was a member of the alleged enterprise engaged in criminal racketeering activity. Sloan was asked multiple times to name members and leaders of Oblock. He did not name Charles Liggins until Mr. Liggins' name was fed to him by the government. Coercion. But Sloan then admitted he had no personal relationship with Charles Liggins and never even met or talked to him. So how the fuck is he saying? How can you testify to that if you never met him or talked to him? How? How can you say that this man was a part of Oblock and you never met him or talked to him? Sloan further admitted he had no knowledge of Mr. Liggins being or doing anything. Sloan described no action by Charles Liggins that might establish that Liggins was a member of the alleged enterprise, Sloan did not testify that Charles Liggins was present at any meetings, involved in providing any firearms, or involved in ordering or participating in sliding on ops or any other violent activities. Similarly, Wiley testified that he saw Charles Liggins only a few times. This is Trenches News. Wiley described no actions by Charles Liggins that might establish Liggins was a member of the alleged enterprise. Wiley did not testify that Charles Liggins was present at any meetings, involved in providing any firearms, or involved in ordering or participating in slide-on ops or any other violent activities. Rakeem Wilton, who testified regarding alleged Oblock murders, did not testify to Charles Liggins being involved in any of those murders or any other violent activities. In fact, Wilton did not identify Charles as a member of Oblock or provide any other testimony regarding Mr. Liggins. Thus, the government evidence failed to establish that Charles Liggins was a member of the alleged Oblock RICO enterprise, much less that he had a position in Oblock that would be maintained or increased as a result of participating in the shooting of Oak Street. RICOs and racketeering has to be in furtherance of. Like you're committing this crime in furtherance of the gang. So that's why he said, thus the government evidence failed to establish that Charles Liggins was a member of the alleged Oblock RICO enterprise, excuse me, much less that he had a position in Oblock that would be maintained or increased as a result of participating in the shooting on Oak Street. Second, as to the purpose of murder assault, the government presented no evidence of any statements made by Charles Liggins admitting involvement in these violent acts, much less explaining the reason he might have participated in them. There was no evidence regarding any discussion among the alleged co-conspirators reflecting any such reason or intent behind the violent acts. There was no evidence Charles talked about the shooting to anyone, much less that he bragged about it, such that it would somehow increase or maintain his alleged position in the charged Oblock enterprise. Third, based on their argument, the government's theory as to the reasons for the shooting appeared to be that Charles Liggins was so infuriated and incensed by Cartoon Weekly's music videos that Liggins decided to kill Weekly. Again, this theory was a pure speculation by the government in this argument. There was no evidence of any kind. Charles Liggins saw those videos, much less that the video put him into a murderous rage. Moreover, even if there were evidence, rather than speculation, that this was the impetus for the murder, Liggins' purpose would appear to be personal animosity or revenge, not as required for these convictions, to maintain or increase his position, the Oblock enterprise. So they basically saying that even if it is true that he couldn't stand Duck diss songs, that would be personal. It wouldn't be to maintain or increase position in the Oblock enterprise, which means that racketeering count should be null and void. Now, I don't agree with that. Thus, the government evidence was insufficient to prove that Charles Liggins participated in the murder of Carlton Weekly and the assault of Cache Williams for the purpose of maintaining or increasing his position in the alleged Oblock enterprise, and the judgment of acquittal must be entered as to all convictions against Charles Liggins. Motion for new trial. In the event this court does not grant Charles Liggins Rule 29 motion for judgment of acquittal, notwithstanding the verdicts on counts 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, this court should grant Charles Liggins a new trial in the light of errors committed at trial and in the interest of justice. A motion for new trial may be granted and a judgment vacated under Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 33 if the interest of justice so requires. Under this standard, trial courts are given wide discretion to make that determination. United States versus Macklin. Upon reviewing the evidence at trial, a new trial should be granted in this case where reasonable possibility exists that an identified trial error had prejudicial effects on the jury's verdict. The trial court is entitled to weigh the evidence and in so doing evaluate for itself the credibility of witnesses. Moreover, if the complete record leaves a strong doubt as to the defendant's guilt, even though not so strong a doubt as to require a judgment of acquittal, the district court may be obligated to grant a new trial. United States versus Morales. Indicating that a new trial is warranted where the evidence preponderates heavily against the verdict such that it would be a miscarriage of justice to let the guilty verdict stand. Basically saying this case lacked so much evidence that it is a miscarriage of justice to let this guilty verdict stand. That's why I don't think these guys been sentenced. Because their sentencing keep getting pushed back. Because this case was flawed as it gets. Flawed as it gets. Yo, they allowed 4 convicted felons. 4 convicted felons. 3 of them, I'm saying 4 of them. All 4 of them didn't even know these guys like that. Ain't seen them in years. But they testified to different parts of the indictment that they really didn't have no really information on. Like, you can't say that Oblock is a gang, right? And you ain't been in Oblock since 2010. You ain't been in Oblock since 2010. This shooting happened in 2020. But you say it's a gang and it's an enterprise that's supposed to have hierarchy like the mob and the mafia that got hierarchies. But you get these guys who saying that it's a gang. They are testifying saying that there was no hierarchy. Everybody did what they wanted to do. You know, you didn't have to go, you didn't have to get no okay to slide on your apps. You just did what you wanted to do. In short, a motion for new trial may be granted if a trial error contributed to an unfair outcome or if the weight of the evidence leaves doubt regarding the defendant's guilt on the charged offenses. We submit that under either prong, Charles Liggins is entitled to a new trial. Charles Liggins should be granted a new trial based on trial errors which deprived him of a fair trial. The court erred in denying defendant Charles Liggins' motion to suppress the identification testimony of individual MW. That's Trench's News, because he didn't know Trench's News. Trench's News ain't been to Oblock in 10 years. So how are you going to bring him in to identify me? He don't fucking know me. This is what I be meaning by the feds get dirty. They don't got special prosecutors and they play dirty. That's how their conviction rate is 98%. And or exclude such testimony pursuant to Federal Rules of Evidence 602, 701, and 403, or to the order of evidentiary hearing on those motions under seal. And motions to reconsider ruling under seal. Charles Liggins motion to suppress the identification testimony of individual DS. That's Sloan. And or to exclude such testimony pursuant to Federal Rule of Evidence 601, 602, 701, and 403. Or to order an evidentiary hearing on these motions under seal. Charles Liggins motion to suppress the identification testimony of to suppress identification testimony of individual TG and or to exclude such testimony pursuant to Federal Rules of Evidence. All right. So they're asking that all these people that identified him should be suppressed because they didn't know him. He didn't know any of these guys. He didn't know them. How are they saying they know me and I don't know them? None of these people was currently in Oblock. None of them. These motions used initials because they were filed before the witnesses' names were made. Okay. Part of the public record. The record now reflects that these motions apply to witnesses Martel Wiley, David Sloan, Terrence Garrett, and Tiffany Huff. The court denied these motions as set forth in rulings contained in sealed transcript of October 3rd, 2023. Sealed transcript of October 4th, 2023. In support, the arguments made in these motions as well as further oral arguments made in their support are fully adopted and incorporated herein. The court erred in denying defendant Liggins' request for evidentiary hearings contain each of the 4 motions to suppress prescribed in paragraph 1. All 4 of these suppression motions set out facts indicating that the particular witness's identification was the result of subjective identification procedures that violated the Due Process Clause of the 5th Amendment. Perry versus New Hampshire. The court denial of the evidentiary hearing denied Charles Liggins' right under the Due Process Clause to develop the full record as to the suggestive procedures employed to obtain the identification testimony. In support of this argument, defendant adopts and incorporates the argument contained in the motion to suppress filed as to each of these witnesses, referenced in paragraph 1 above, as well as the oral arguments on this issue. The court erred in admitting the identification testimony of Martell Wiley, David Sloan, Terrence Garrett, and Tiffany Huff, as the testimony was the result of subjective identification procedures that violated Charles Liggins' right under Due Process Clause of the 5th Amendment. In support of this argument, the defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments contained in the motion to suppress filed as to each of these witnesses referenced in paragraph 1 above as well as the oral arguments on this issue. The court erred in admitting the identification testimony of Martellus Wiley, David Sloan, and all the. All right. In support of this argument, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments contained in the motion to suppress as to each of these witnesses referenced in paragraph 1 above, as well as the oral arguments on this issue. The court erred in admitting the identification of testimony of Martellus Wiley. All right, that's all the same shit. All right, here you go. Tiffany Huff, because each of these witnesses lacked sufficient personal knowledge of Charles Liggins' physical appearance in August of 2020, such as to satisfy federal rules of evidence 602 and 701 of the pleading, details the lack of sufficient personal knowledge of each of the 4 witnesses: David Sloan, Martell Wiley, Tiffany Huff, and Terrence Garrett. While acknowledging the necessity of sufficient personal knowledge as a requirement of both Rules 602 and 701, the court erroneously applied a more than fleeting interaction in a low threshold of personal knowledge. Definitely a low threshold, a very low threshold. The court failed to consider not only the limited nature of the witness's exposure to Charles Liggins, but also ignored the importance of the time period of that exposure. The issue was whether the witness had the requisite degree of familiarity with Charles Liggins' appearance on August 4th, 2020, not years and years earlier. Moreover, the 7th Court case law requires longer period of close association. None of the 4 witnesses had close association with Charles Liggins of any length. Thus, the identification testimony of these 4 witnesses failed to satisfy Rule 602 and Rule 701. Yo, they broke so many rules in this trial, man. And the introduction of their testimony was error. In support of this argument, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments contained in the motion to suppress filed as to each of these witnesses referenced in paragraph 1 and the oral arguments made on this issue. The court erred in admitting the identification testimony of Martell Wiley and all them other people, because the portion of the Camtasia video containing the persons in the stairwell that they identified as Charles Liggins lacked sufficient clarity. It sure the fuck did. To make an admissible, reliable identification. In support of this argument, the defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments contained in the motion to suppress filed as to each of these witnesses referenced in paragraph 1 and the oral arguments made on this issue. At trial, defendant Liggins and Thomas repeatedly objected to preclude Garrett's identification testimony based on discovery in the Brady Gigolo violation. The defense laid out in detail how the government failed to provide the discovery necessary to cross-examination of Garrett, so they held back discovery. The court overruled the objection and permitted Garrett's testimony. The court overruled the objection and permitted Garrett to testify to identification that should have been excluded. The court erred in allowing Tiffany Huff to testify to her identification of Charles Liggins in the Camtasia video after her direct testimony at trial established that Ms. Huff had never seen Charles Liggins in person, but only on social media. Come on, y'all. Like, yo, do I gotta keep going? Like, yo, this is horrible, man. This is fucking horrible. Like, yo, this is not how the system is supposed to work. The court had previously ruled that a witness' lack of personal interaction with a defendant rendered such identification testimony insufficient under Rules 601, 602, 701, and 403. The line I was drawing before was if someone has literally never set eyes on this person in real life as opposed to a photo. Defendant objected prior to the identification testimony being elicited from Ms. Huff, but the court overruled that objection despite the court's earlier ruling that such foundation for identification testimony was insufficient. Omission of this testimony violated federal rules of evidence 602, 701, and 403. In support of this argument, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments made both in writing and orally in the original motion to suppress Ms. Huff's identification testimony under seal, and the arguments made orally regarding admissibility of such identification testimony. The court erred in allowing Tiffany Huff to testify that she can assume the person at 14:52 seconds in the Camtasia video was Charles Liggins over objection by a defense counsel. She assumed. She assumed. Yeah, why was you talking about eBay Films? Is that you, eBay, on the fake page? Right on your real page. The court erred in allowing Tiffany Huff to testify that she can assume the person. Like, yo, how can she assume? Yo, these people facing life in prison. This must be the same girl that said she was pressured. Oh no, I ain't no eBay. The court erred. This say keep it G News, y'all. The court erred in allowing Tiffany Huff to identify Charles Liggins in the Camtasia video when, in violation of court order excluding witnesses, Mr. Huff had been sitting in a courtroom a few feet away from Mr. Liggins on multiple days prior to her testimony. When this fact was revealed, defense counsel immediately moved to preclude Ms. Huff from testifying. In support of this argument, defendant adopts and incorporates. Hold up, y'all. The court erred in allowing Tiffany Huff to identify Charles Liggins in a Camtasia video when, in violation of court orders excluding witnesses, Ms. Huff had been sitting in a courtroom a few feet away from Mr. Liggins on multiple days prior to her testimony. When this fact was revealed, defense counsel immediately moved to preclude Ms. Huff from testifying. In support of this argument, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments made at trial regarding this issue in relation written motion. Oh yeah, I know y'all. Here bluffing ass nigga. As well as the arguments set out in the paragraphs 1 to 5 and 7 to 8 above. Given the insufficiency under Rules 602, 701, and 403 of Ms. Huff's familiarity with Charles Liggins, allowing Ms. Huff to make an identification of Charles Liggins in the Camtasia video after she sat in the courtroom looking at him for days in violation of court order was error. Yo, how did they allow that? How did they allow that? She was sitting next to the man in court for days. The court erred in denying defendant Liggins and Thomas' motion to exclude expert testimony regarding firearm tool mark identification. Defendant hereby adopts and incorporates the argument made in that motion. The court erred and denied defendant Liggins and Thomas' objection to government's preliminary exhibit list. In support, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments contained in that motion. All arguments. I just wanted to go talk about them witnesses, man. Them witnesses was flawed, man. The court erred in granting the government motion for an anonymous jury. In support, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments made in response to that motion, both in writing and orally. The court erred in granting government motion to admit evidence as direct evidence or alternately. In support, defendant adopts and incorporates the arguments made in the purpose. So these other people motions. So they just referencing other people motions. The court erred in granting the government's Santiago proffer in motion to omit evidence under whatever and support defendant adopts in the court raised the argument. So these other people motions. The court erred when it omitted government exhibit 403, a video of Charleston Weekly dying declaration, exited utterance, or statement of then physical condition. The government moved in its consolidated motions in limine to introduce video footage of Weekly lying on the street after he was shot. Yeah, that was bad work. That can fuck a jury up. The video had an audio of Weekly saying he was hit everywhere and he couldn't feel. Liggins and Thomas objected to their responses to the government's motion, argued that the video should have been excluded on the basis of relevance. Yeah, why they need the audio? Why they need the audio? As well as being unfair prejudice under whatever rule. Pre-trial arguments were heard on October 3rd, 2023 in the morning session. The video was introduced through Officer The video was extremely graphic. It depicted Mr. Weekly in a painful process of dying from his injuries. Neither the disturbing video nor Mr. Weekly's statements had any relevance or probative value. The nature of Mr. Weekly's death was conceded by the defense, and there was no issues at trial as to his death that required any such proof. The government's relevance argument was a smokescreen to omit highly emotional evidence that was not relevant or admissible under whatever rule. The video should have been excluded in its entirety under the FRE 402. Moreover, the unfair prejudice outweighed any minuscule probative value, so that under rule, let's look up that rule, FRE 403 rule. What is FRE 403 federal rule? Okay. Evidence rule 403. What is evidence federal rule 403?
Ensuring the fairness and efficiency of trials. According to rulesofevidence.org, Federal Rule of Evidence 403 is about ensuring the fairness and efficiency of trials by allowing judges to exclude relevant evidence when its potential to mislead, confuse, or unduly influence the jury outweighs its value in proving a fact in question.
That's true. Because it wasn't like they can identify any of them from that video. You feel me? It wasn't like they can identify any of them from that video. So I get what the defense is saying. The video should have been excluded in its entirety under that rule. Moreover, the unfair prejudice outweighed any minuscule probative value, so that under the FRE 403, it should not have been admitted into evidence. The court erred in allowing into evidence government exhibit 403. The exhibit consisted of a photo of Mr. Weekly and Mr. Brinson lying in the street. The court, yo, these motherfuckers is crazy. The court had previously admitted the above referenced video clip of Mr. Weekly lying in the street after being shot. The introduction of Exhibit 403, combined with the introduction of Exhibit 431, denied Mr. Liggins the right to a fair trial and should have been precluded under the FRE 401, Federal Rule, I think that's what that means, 401, 402, and 403. The court erred when it allowed it into evidence following music videos, Deadbeats. This is a video made by Carlton Weekly. Thomas and Liggins objected to this introduction pre-trial in their preliminary objection to the government's preliminary exhibit list. Arguments were heard pre-trial on October 4th, 2023. In addition to arguing that the government could not authenticate the video, the defense argued that the video was irrelevant and that there was no evidence that Charles Liggins ever saw or was even aware of the video. Without that connection, the video was irrelevant and not probative, as it could have not established a motive for Liggins' participation in the murder. Any such motive was purely speculative and had no evidentiary basis. Y'all remember, y'all, when they that $100,000 thing, that never came out in court because there never was no proof that King Von paid $100,000. What's up, Charlene? Any such motive was purely speculative and had no evidentiary basis. During trial, Thomas and Liggins, along with other counsel, objected to the introduction. I'm from 63rd. These exhibits are clips from another video made by Carlton Weekly. As argued in connection with the Deadbeats video above, this video was irrelevant in that there was no evidence that Charles Liggins ever saw or was even aware of the video. Without that connection, the video was irrelevant and not probative. So basically the government's narrative was they killed Duck because he was dissing the songs. That's the government narrative. So what the defense is saying is, well, how do you know my client's video? Y'all provided no proof that he even watched it. Now, that can go either way. But I'm just showing y'all how lackluster this case was. Because people thought this was like, you had bloggers like, this case was lackluster. Was irrelevant and not probative as it could not establish a motive for Liggins' participation in the murder. Any such motives were purely speculative and had no evidentiary basis. Took it to the O. Thomas and Liggins objected to this music video introduction pre-trial and the preliminary objections to the government's preliminary exhibit list on the basis that authenticity could not be established, that the video was irrelevant to the murder of Weekly, and that it should be excluded under the 403. Arguments were heard on the motion at the October 4th, 2003 hearing. Counsel again objected at trial to the video introduction and to any agent interpretations of the lyrics. Liggins also joined in the objection made by defendant Alford and Smart to the introduction of the clips and stills from Dude from 63rd Street Couldn't Get Back Up and Never Change. Into each of these videos, defendant adopts and incorporates all arguments made by the defense in writing and orally to preclude introduction of this evidence. The court erred when it allowed into evidence testimony relating to the murders of Jakar Barnes and Dale Fisher. Liggins and Thomas objected to the introduction of this evidence in their response in opposition to the government's motion to admit certain acts as direct evidence of charged offenses or in an alternative pursuant to federal rule of evidence. The court overruled the defense objection on October 11, 2023. So they just getting their way. They just overruling every motherfucking thing. As to this evidence, the defendant incorporates and adopts all arguments made by the defense in writing and orally objecting to the introduction of this evidence. Jakar Barnes' murder occurred in 2014. The murder of Dale Fisher occurred in 2011. Both murders occurred long before 2020 and therefore shed no light as to whether Oblock was a criminal enterprise engaged in a racketeering activity in 2020. These murders had no relevance to the charged 2020 offenses. Well, they spoke about those murders because they wanted to establish that this was a long-standing feud. But if they couldn't prove that they was a gang that had hierarchy, then that takes away that argument that it was a long-standing feud, because these guys was moving on their own. It wasn't a gang beef, which all related to the specific shooting of Weekly and others on Oak Street on August 4th. The superseding indictment set forth only August 4th, 2020 as the time period for the existence of the alleged Oblock criminal enterprise, and neither the Barnes nor the Fisher murders are mentioned in the superseding indictment. Wow. How the fuck did they do that? How do you do that? If that's not an indictment, how you bring it up at trial? The testimony at trial did not establish that any of the defendants on trial were involved in either the Barnes or Fisher murder. The government's main witness regarding these murders, Rakeem Wilton, claimed to have been present for these murders and named the participants. Wilton did not name or identify either of these two murders. In fact, there was no evidence Charles Liggins was involved in any way with these two murders. Furthermore, Wilton did not identify Charles Liggins as a member of any group, much less any enterprise responsible for these murders. All right, y'all. I ain't really read all this. Let's see what this is. All right, let's read this. Who's Agent Case? Dang, y'all. See, that's why I'm like, this important information, y'all. So I probably gotta read it. It's important information, y'all. I can't skip it. The evidence itself was graphic and disturbing, particularly given the youth of the two victims and the callous of the violence. Oh, so they basically saying that Jakara Barnes and Dale Fisher was so young, it prejudiced the jury, even bringing their murders up because their murders had nothing to do with the death of Carlton Wheatley. They didn't prove that it had anything to do with it. But I understand what the United States government was doing. They was trying to prove that they had a beef. And it went on. The ultimate impact was that the government was allowed to implicate Charles Liggins in acts of murders just because they occurred in the neighborhood where he resided. This clear error alone requires reversal of Charles Liggins' conviction. The court erred when it permitted certain law enforcement witnesses to testify as to matters about which they had no personal knowledge. Instead, they improperly testified as to their own opinions. What the fuck? Yo, get the fuck out of here, yo. Inferences and interpretations of the evidence and properly bolstered the government's theory of the case, testified to hearsay regarding aspects of the investigation in which they were not involved in, and usurped the function of the jury in this case. FBI Agent Case had no personal knowledge of events of August 4th, 2020. In fact, she was not the investigating case agent who gathered the evidence. Despite this complete lack of knowledge, she was allowed to opine regarding the meaning and significance of numerous pieces of evidence and to narrate the video evidence based on her own personal interpretation as to what she saw. Hey, yo, fuck no, yo. These people is dirty, yo. Defense counsel repeatedly objected to Agent Case's testimony as being improper, both before her testimony, at breaks, and during objections during her testimony. By the use of repeated questions of, do you see anything of interest to investigate here? Agent Case was allowed, over repeated defense objections, to testify that she had viewed the Camtasia video dozens of times, and that many times she would notice something in the video that she hadn't noticed before. She would then focus on a portion of the Camtasia video and interpret it consistent with the government's theory of the case. Eventually, the court ruled that the defendant had a standing objection to Agent's Case testimony. The Camtasia video was in evidence. The jury had the ability to watch that video and draw whatever reasonable inferences in which to draw from it. Under the guise of explaining the investigation, the questions to Agent Case was purposely aimed at allowing her to improperly make inferences from the evidence that fit the government's theory of the offenses. So basically what they're saying is, by the federal government able to narrate that video and tell the jury, this is him, this is him, this is him, it took out you supposed to allow the jury to do that. You know, it took that option away from the jury, and it kind of made it like, this is a fact, as opposed to, this is just what I think. Because from that video, you couldn't tell who was who. You looked at it on the live yesterday. You couldn't tell who was who on that video. Let's see. And that allowing her to improperly make inferences from the evidence that fit the government's theory of defense, to essentially identify the defendants, including Charles Liggins, on portions of the video, although she did not have any personal knowledge on which to base such identifications, and no other witness had made such identifications, and to fill the numerous evidentiary gaps in the government's case with speculation. with speculation. Agent Case had absolutely no personal knowledge of events shown in the Camtasia video on which to base our inferences. Agent Case was in no better position than the jury to interpret the video. It was the jury function to interpret and make reasonable inferences from the evidence. Agent Case's testimony usurped this responsibility of the jury and impinged upon the jury's role as fact finders. That's true. That's true. That's what I just said. Agent Casey, that's why I'm the best at this paperwork, man. Like, I can explain that shit before we even get to it. Them other guys, they just be talking. Agent Case's testimony was not based on personal knowledge as required by the Federal Rule 602 and did not satisfy the requirements of lay opinion evidence under Rule 701. Agent Case improperly testified to inferences about the video and other evidence. Those inferences were solely the province of the jury. In addition, Agent Case was allowed over repeated defense objections to testify as to forensic analysts, including fingerprints and DNA that were performed by others. What? Yo, how is she testifying to things that was performed by others? This testimony was clearly hearsay. Most importantly, its submission was a violation of defendant Lincoln's constitutional right to confrontation of any witness against him. Omissions of this evidence was of constitutional magnitude and alone required reversal. Yo, this is crazy, y'all. This whole case was fucking flawed, y'all. The whole case. The whole case. Every witness. Like, I didn't know it was this bad. I did not know it was this bad, y'all. Yeah, straight up. CPD officer, whatever his name is, had no personal knowledge of the events of August 4th, 2020, but he was allowed to narrate large swaths of video as if he did. What the fuck? Countless objections were made as to his testimony, including improper bolstering. In his testimony, he blank described vehicles that he believed related to the investigation. He described the movements of persons to whom he was paying particular attention, attributing culpability to them. The officer's opinion about what had no relevance to the actual facts of the case, but was the officer's personal version of events, although he had no personal knowledge of those events. Man, get the fuck out of here, y'all. I'm not reading no more of that shit, y'all. That shit is bad. Yeah, people can't see it's bad by now. Like, this shit was bad, man. The whole case. The whole case. That's why they haven't been sentenced yet. You might can finish reading more of it tonight. It's a lot of fucking reading. I'm reading about an hour. Like, god damn, that's a lot. All right, though. We ain't got that much left. All right, let's get to the conclusion. Pursuant to Rule 29, the evidence at trial was insufficient for the jury to find Charles Liggins guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offenses upon which he was convicted. Consequently, this court should grant defendant Charles Liggins a motion for judgment of acquittal on all counts of conviction. Alternatively, pursuant to Rule 33, the errors set forth above, singly or in combination, deprive Charles Liggins of a fair trial. Consequently, this court should grant Mr. Liggins motions for a new trial, or also pursuant to Rule 33, this court should grant Mr. Liggins a new trial because the weight of the evidence is such that it would be a miscarriage of justice to let the guilty verdict stand. And I fucking agree. I agree. And it's fucked up, but it happens like that. It happens like that sometimes, y'all. Like, you can't get they bungled the case. They bungled the case, yo. They were so in a hurry. See, this is the thing, y'all, and this is why I said this before. They didn't have enough evidence. Yo, they didn't have enough evidence to try them on state charges. Now people keep saying, no, it was a murder case because it went to the feds because it was down the Gold Coast. I don't agree. The case went fed because with that evidence, for one, it was already investigating Oblock. But for two, with that evidence, it wasn't a state jury in the world would have found them guilty. They couldn't even use none of the evidence. Like in state court, y'all read the evidence, y'all heard the witnesses. They couldn't use not one of them witnesses in state court. Not one of them. Not one of them, man. Like that shit was that shit was horrible. That's why the case went fed. Now the Gold Coast thing might have added a little bit more to it, but that case went fed because it was too weak to go state. And the feds cheat, and the feds lie, and they get away with anything they want to get away with. So that's why they did it. Yeah, they wanted them. And I've been saying that. You go to the videos I put out. I've been telling people that for the longest time. This is the first time I actually read that paperwork. But I ain't surprised. I knew it was bad. I know it was that bad. Don't get me wrong. I knew the witnesses were bad, as far as Trench's News, but the dude Sloan and the Tiffany Huff girl. I knew they was all bad. I didn't know the forensic scientists and all. I didn't know they was just as bad too. Like, god damn. Like, that was horrible, man. That was horrible, y'all. But this is the feds that everybody always talk about. They got a 98% conviction rate. People don't play with the feds. Man, the feds been reaching. Ricky right. The feds been reaching, y'all. This not the feds from the 90s. This ain't the feds from the early 2000s. These fed cases that they be bringing upon people, yeah, they be reaching like a motherfucker. For real. Even the Durk case. They don't have a case on Durk. They don't have a case on him, man. They need somebody else to cooperate. Now, in that Oblock trial, y'all know ain't none of them boys tell. None of them. 6 of them. None of them told. That's why they might got a shot. At least 2 of them. C-Thing and Muwap. Now the drivers, to Carlos Alford and Kenny Mack and them, they done. But Muwap and C-Thing, yo, they gotta get them boys another trial, man. They didn't have no evidence on them. And even though you tried together, yo, everybody's guilt gotta be determined separately. Everybody's guilt has to be determined separately. They didn't have no case on Muwap. Muwap ain't do no telling. Muwap ain't talk to no girls. Even when so some of the evidence on Muwap was he went to the dealership with the Carlos Alford. But when the feds questioned the girl, and the girl got on the stand, the girl said she was forced to say that. She said the feds made it seem like I ain't had no choice but to say that was Muwap. That's what she said. It's documented. They coerced that girl in the. She said it's basically the same thing about C-Thing. They coerced that girl into speaking, man. They coerced that girl into speaking, man. Like she didn't know. She don't know them people. How you gonna testify as to somebody's identity by seeing pictures off them on social media? On social media, like you don't know them personally. You see a picture. Yo, people look totally different from social media to real life. Totally different. Appreciate it, boy, for the 10-hour super chat. I mean super sticker. Yeah, people say keep going, keep rocking, shorty, straight up. Like that case was flawed, man. It was bad, y'all. It was bad, y'all. And it's fucked up, yo, because the system do that to people, right? And people, you know, because it's victims, you know, people want justice for their family. But the system be dropping the ball. And then people get mad at the guys, but no, be mad at the system. They cut corners. Their investigation was fucked up. Be mad at them. You can't get mad at the guys for getting off. The system fucked it up. Try and be slick. Try and be slick. Yeah, Charlene know. Motherfuckers dirty, man. But y'all, I'm ready to get my kids. I appreciate everybody that tapped in. Y'all know we go live at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. If we want, we can go back and read like the couple paragraphs or the couple couple paragraphs we missed. Yeah, for real. Definitely gotta learn the law. But we probably had something else by tonight. But I appreciate everybody that tapped in. It's another day of Keep It G News, and I'm out.